Something we both love about doing our Living Off the Land challenge is how every ingredient we use has a story. I guess this is true of all food, but we often don't know what that story was before we picked it up off the grocery store shelf. But for our meal of polenta with stewed venison, every component took it back to when we harvested, foraged, or hunted it. The canned tomatoes especially put a smile on my face because when we opened that jar, it made me think of our canning party we had on our porch with friends earlier in the summer, where we got too distracted by talking and catching up with each other and ended up burning the first batch. Still got to figure out what to do with that slightly smoky tomato sauce we made. The hard cider has the longest history here, at least 3 years old. We harvested those apples from one of our favorite places in the whole world, a stream where we like to go and hike and fish and forage, and turned it into a hard apple cider. When we first tried it, we really weren't very impressed, but letting it sit in the back of a cupboard and mellow has turned it into a really delicious kind of funky cider that's perfect for braising wild meat like venison. We've tried out a new, much finer sieve for our cornmeal and grits this week. Previously, we had just sifted out the large grits from the cornmeal, but with this smaller, much finer one, we can get it into grits, cornmeal, and a really fine corn flour. Jordan made muffins with this corn flour earlier in the week, and it was a really noticeable difference from some of our previous baked goods. They were very soft and cake-like, and I would have definitely believed that they were wheat flour if I didn't know otherwise. But despite this fine texture, it still has this very rich and corny flavor, which in our opinion puts it way above the stuff you get at the store, because a lot of those grits and cornmeal have had the germ and the hull removed to improve shelf stability. Probably the biggest change I've noticed from last year's challenge to this year is the sheer amount of nuts we have to use. It's frankly nuts. Sorry. I feel like we've just started to scratch the surface of what we can make from our hickories, black walnuts, and acorns. So far, we've really enjoyed snacking on them, making knucchi from the hickories, and pancakes from our acorn flour. But I look forward to a lot more experimenting as we go through the winter and want to get more creative with what we're eating. I have been missing some traditional foods this time of year, like Christmas cookies. Not even really eating them because I personally don't have much of a sweet tooth, but the act of making them. It really brings with it that warm nostalgia of being a little kid and looking forward to the holidays, making cookies with my mom. Jordan's grandmother used to make tea cookies with black walnuts, so I thought I would put our fine corn flour to the test and try making some with our black walnuts. We used some store-bought butter, as we mentioned in the last video. Having homemade oil and fat sources is pretty challenging, but the rest of the ingredients were a very local affair. The vanilla flavoring came from sweet woodruff that we had soaked in alcohol last year, and then I decorated the tops of the cookies with preserved spruce tips and some elderberry jam. So it was really a symphony of forest flavors along with our homegrown, home-milled corn flour.
What do you think?
I thought the spruce tips were an especially good pairing because they have this super bright citrusy sweetness that was a really great kind of counterbalance to the earthiness of black walnuts. Hope you stay together. Watch out, baby. Watch out. Good luck. Ooh, interesting. All in all, I consider it a success, and I look forward to making more dishes with our corn flour. Not only is it fun to think back on how we gathered and came by all of these ingredients, but it also is a helpful reminder to me that while winter can feel long this time of year, it's actually temporary. In a few months, we'll be back in the woods and the gardens, putting seeds in the ground, looking out for what we can forage, and working hard to prepare for the next year. So I might as well enjoy this time spent more indoors, cooking or crafting, or just hanging out, being cozy on the couch with loved ones.